You know, I didn't want to be that guy, the angry fan, the "they ruined my favorite character" guy. But after finishing Daredevil, Born Again, I have to say it, they almost got it right. If you watch this show as a standalone, it's actually decent. Like, seriously. If this was the first time we were seeing Matt Murdock on Disney+, I'd be calling it one of Marvel's best Disney+ shows. But the problem is, it's not a standalone. It's a continuation, a sequel to one of the greatest superhero series ever made. And as a fan of the original Netflix Daredevil, this ain't it, Chief. So let's talk about it. The good, the bad, and the reason why, despite some solid moments, this season fails to live up to what came before. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Thank you. Alright, before we dive into the deep end of criticism, let's take a minute to acknowledge the things that Daredevil Born Again actually did right. Because yeah, believe it or not, there's a version of this show somewhere in the multiverse where it really works. Let's start with the obvious. Charlie Cox still kills it as Matt Murdock. The guy didn't miss a beat. Whether he's lawyering up in court or throwing hands in a hallway, he just gets it. That internal struggle, the quiet torment, the way he carries the weight of everything, it's all still there. And man, when he finally puts on the suit again, it hits. Vincent D'Onofrio too. Look, you could give this man the dumbest dialogue in the world, and he'd still make Kingpin feel like a looming, unstoppable force. There's something about the way he plays Fisk. Calm, calculated, but always one word away from snapping your neck. That makes him one of the best villains in the entire MCU. There were also a few glimmers of visual style that reminded me of the Netflix era. You can tell which episodes were shot after Marvel hit the reset button. The ones with more atmosphere, more intentional cinematography. The ones that actually feel like someone cared. The tone shifts, the darker lighting, those long, drawn-out conversations laced with tension. That's when it felt like Daredevil again. And when it works, it works. There were moments when I thought, okay, maybe Marvel's actually listening this time. Punisher shows up, Bullseye has a presence again, and even Karen and Foggy aren't completely forgotten. Just mostly. But hey, it's something. So yeah, the good stuff is in there. You just have to dig through a whole lot of studio meddling, rewrites, and half-baked storylines to find it. And that's the real frustration here. Because when it hits the right notes, it feels like Daredevil. The problem is, those notes are too few and far between. Now let's talk about the parts that had me staring at my screen like, yo, what are we doing here? Because while Born Again has its moments, the rest of the show feels like it got hit by a truck full of bad decisions, and then got back up and said, let's keep filming anyway. Let's just address the elephant in the room. The new supporting cast. I don't want to be that guy, but these characters, they are aggressively mid. Not even mid in a charming way. Just there, existing. Taking up screen time I wish was being spent with literally anyone from the original crew. You remember Foggy and Karen, right? Two of the emotional pillars of the Netflix series. Yeah, well, Foggy gets killed off-screen like it's nothing, and Karen disappears for most of the show until she magically reappears for some late-game moral support. Cool. And don't even get me started on the replacements. We've got Kirsten McDuffie, who's supposed to be Matt's new law partner, but she spends most of her time either frowning or chewing him out. Then there's Cherry, who might be the most useless character I've seen in a Marvel project in a long time. And yes, I'm including whatever that was in Secret Invasion. And then we have Heather Glenn, the new love interest, who somehow manages to have zero chemistry with Matt, while also being endlessly annoying. Matt saves her life, and she still acts like he's the problem? It's like the writers made a checklist of Daredevil tropes without understanding what made any of the characters work in the first place. These new people just don't do anything. They don't evolve, they don't carry emotional weight. They don't even give us memorable dialogue. I couldn't tell you 3 interesting things about any of them if my life depended on it. And then there's the complete absence of characters that should have been in this show. No Sister Maggie, no Blake Tower, no Ellison, no Mahoney, who was basically Matt's Commissioner Gordon. These are characters who matter. Characters who were there when the original story was being built. And now we've replaced them with filler, background noise with names. I get that new eras bring new faces, that's fine, but don't bring in a new cast just to push the old ones out like they never mattered, especially when the replacements are this bland. It's like watching your favorite band reunite, but half the original members are gone, and now some guy from a cover band is singing lead. Yeah, the name's still on the tour poster, but it doesn't feel the same, not even close. Here's where things go from kind of annoying to full-blown disrespectful. Because if Daredevil Born Again is supposed to be a continuation of the Netflix series, then Marvel needs to explain why literally none of it makes sense. Like, let's start with the biggest question mark of the entire show. Why is Wilson Fisk free? The last time we saw this man, he was exposed for running a whole criminal empire, corrupting half the FBI, and literally being the puppet master behind Dex's rampage as fake Daredevil. He was done, cooked, finished. Ray Nadine's dying testimony was broadcast to the public. Karen, Matt, Foggy, all of them helped take him down. So how is this dude out here running for mayor like he's just another billionaire with a bad haircut? And don't give me that corruption scandal line the show throws out once and never follows up on. That's not an explanation, that's a lazy excuse. Ray Nadim's video wasn't some random blog post, it was legally admissible evidence, recorded literally right before his death. That testimony had names, dates, receipts. It was airtight. You don't just walk away from that because of a technicality. Even worse, Matt knows all of this. He knows that Fisk is still dangerous. And more importantly, he still has leverage. Remember the dirt he had on Vanessa from season 3? He literally told Fisk, "You step out of line and I'll take her down." And now? Nothing. Crickets. We're just supposed to believe that Matt let Fisk build up a criminal empire again while sitting on all that ammo? Unless, maybe they're going to say the blip made it all go away. That's what a few fans have theorized. Like maybe Vanessa blipped, so the deal Matt made didn't matter anymore. Okay, cool theory. Now explain why that's never mentioned once in the entire show. Not even a single throwaway line. Marvel expects us to do their homework for them at this point. This kind of sloppy continuity isn't just frustrating, it's insulting. Because the Netflix series was so tight about cause and effect, actions had consequences, characters carried scars. And now, Marvel's like, just roll with it. Fisk is mayor now, don't worry about it. I'm sorry, but no. You don't get to slap a new coat of paint on the house while pretending it never burned down. And don't even get me started on how the show treats time. Born Again takes place 7 years after the end of season 3. 7. That's a long time. And yet, there's almost no effort to explain what happened during that gap. What's Matt been doing? What's Karen been doing? Why did Matt cut her off? What happened to Marcy? Why has no one mentioned Sister Maggie, who literally just reconnected with her son? You can feel the show trying to ignore its own past while also pretending it's honoring it. It's like trying to make a sequel without acknowledging what came before, but expecting the emotional payoff anyway. And that just doesn't work. You can't coast off of nostalgia while actively erasing the thing we're nostalgic for. So yeah, if you're a fan of the original Netflix show, Born Again doesn't feel like a true continuation. It feels like cosplay, like someone wearing Daredevil's skin, but not understanding what made it matter in the first place. And this is the part that really stings. Because despite all the messy continuity and frustrating choices, the worst part about Daredevil Born Again is just how much wasted potential is sitting there, plain as day. Like the ingredients for something truly special were all right there. Marvel had a shot to bring back one of the best superhero shows ever made and properly fold it into the MCU, and they fumbled the bag so hard, it's almost impressive. Let's be real here. If they were going to treat this like a sequel to the Netflix show, which by the end they clearly tried to do, then they needed to go all in, not this weird Frankenstein mess of reboot and continuation. You don't get to have your gritty Netflix cake and eat your Disney Plus tone too. If you're bringing back Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, John Bernthal, Deborah Ann Wool, Eldon Henson, you owe it to them to write a story worthy of those characters. Not just show up in a few scenes to tick a nostalgia box, but actually carry forward the arcs we invested in. The stuff with Foggy, Karen, and Matt rebuilding their law firm. That meant something. It was the emotional foundation of the series. And this show just tears it down off-screen like it was filler, and then replaces it with, what? Cherry? Kirsten? Heather Glenn? Characters with the emotional depth of a paper plate? And here's the thing, Marvel had the chance to fix this. The original version of Born Again was supposedly a dry, legal procedural with barely any action and zero real ties to the Netflix series. That version got scrapped mid-production after the strikes. They brought in new showrunners, new directors, and tried to salvage what they could. And for a second, I was hopeful. I thought, okay, they heard the backlash. They're trying to make it right. But instead of starting from scratch, they tried to stitch together two completely different shows. You can see it while you're watching. Certain episodes feel gritty, sharp, like the old Daredevil. Others feel like they were ripped from the She-Hulk production folder. It's a tonal tug-of-war, and nobody wins. If Marvel was serious about honoring the legacy of the Netflix show, they should have just committed. Clear the slate, throw out the old footage, rewrite everything to follow up on Season 3 in a way that actually makes sense. Give us a proper arc for Matt as he grapples with Foggy's death, not this passive brooding with occasional daredeviling. Let us see Karen grieve. Bring back Sister Maggie. Let the characters we spent 3 seasons loving actually process what's happening. And above all else, don't sideline them in favor of nobodies with zero emotional investment. This could have been so good. They had the cast, they had the audience. They even had the chance to do what most studios never do: admit their mistake and course correct in real time. But instead of rebuilding properly, they just duct taped a new plot on top of an old one and hoped we wouldn't notice the cracks. Spoiler alert, we noticed. The honest truth? If they had fully rebooted and just said, hey, this is a brand new take on Daredevil, I probably would have been more forgiving. I would have judged it on its own merits. But the second you tell me this is canon, that it follows the Netflix show, and then you throw continuity, character arcs, and emotional stakes out the window, you're basically daring the fans to hate it. Marvel had a chance to do something bold, something respectful, something great. Instead, they settled for just good enough. And in a world where Daredevil already set the gold standard, good enough just doesn't cut it. At the end of the day, Daredevil Born Again isn't a complete failure, but it's definitely not the comeback fans were hoping for. There's a solid show buried under all the studio interference, continuity mess, and half-baked writing. But almost good just isn't good enough when you're following up one of the greatest superhero series ever made. They had the pieces, they had the cast, they had the legacy. They just didn't have the commitment to see it through. But hey, that's just my take. What did you think of Born Again? Was it a worthy return for the devil of Hell's Kitchen? Or did Marvel drop the ball? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching. I'm Raj, and I'll catch you in the next one. And Marvel, please do better with Season 2.